If you like what I do, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below telling me your favorite stories. Lillian wiped sweat from her eyes roughly with her calloused free hand while shouldering the heavy ruck she'd stuffed with odds and ends. A P-trap, half-used tin of PVC glue, typical scraps of civilization now invaluable to the remnants of the breathing just trying to patch together a semblance of normalcy. Getting the last bits to finish their rainwater collection and irrigation system was absolute priority number 1. Her radio clicked once, the request for open broadcast typical amongst her survivors and the local allied groups. They did their best to help each other, and so far there hadn't been very many issues. A couple of thieves, though how you truly criminalize a starving soul alone in this wasteland was beyond Lillian. She'd taken one under her care, a chemist of no small talent, and the others she'd sent on their way with a few additional scraps of food, a good-natured gesture fueled by her rapidly depleting reserves of sympathy. Lillian grabbed at her handset, clicked it twice in response, the indication of all clear, voice approved. The last thing anybody wants is for a runner to be mere feet away from a wandering horde, and have some imbecile come shouting over the air, alerting an entire city block to their previously unknown presence. Lil, that you? Yeah, Jack, what's up? Jack was the unwilling leader of one of the locals, a group of 2 now, after having sustained some unfortunate casualties. Those fuckers down the road. They've been pecking around our perimeter for a few days, like I told you, right? Well, Rick drove up here today. He and his 2 cronies pulled right up to our gate and honked their horn. Do you fucking believe that? They rang the fucking dinner bell, Lil. Said they'd draw off the Zeds if we tossed a ruck of medicine over the gate. Jesus, Lillian muttered off her mic. Well, can't say we had much of a choice. It's just me and Jenny, and we only have enough rounds for this 22 to take the easy way out if worst comes to worst. I was hoping you'd be able to spare a body to come pick me up. We have to work something out with them, or, well, it's your call. You've been nothing but helpful, and I don't want to put you out, but this is getting to be too much. Of course, Jack. Don't worry about it. I've been meaning to have a word with this asshole. He knows my numbers. Maybe showing my face will scare a little sense into him and his slimy friends. Lillian left the hardware store at a jog. Shrugging off the ruck, she tossed it into the trunk and slid smoothly into the driver's side. The door had long since been torn free, the violent legacy of an event which still gave her nightmares. Flooring the pedal, she accelerated quickly forward out of the spot she'd backed into previously and turned north down I-61. It took only a short while before she had Jack in tow, bouncing his leg nervously in the passenger seat and fingering the safety on his short-barreled .22 pistol. We're just going to talk to them, Jack. I don't think we need to be murdering each other, especially not right now. I know. I don't trust him, Lil, that's all. I don't trust him. He trailed off, looking out the side window, lost in thought. It'll be fine, Jack. We'll be fine. Lillian pressed the gas down further, her hand drifting to her drop-leg holster containing her own .45 without registering the movement. 2 miles down, she could see the torches lighting the perimeter of Rick's 2-story house. Shutting the engine off at speed, Lillian coasted quietly up to the entrance of the home. Flicking the lights off, her and Jack stepped out of the vehicle, Jack quickly closing his door to minimize the noise typical of a vehicle unhappily retaining its keys in its ignition. They found the gate unlocked, which was typical of most survivors. The fewer obstacles in your way, the less likely you are of dying. It's not like the dead could operate a knob anyway. Just inside the front door, Kate greeted them with a frown. He's upstairs, unless you're here for supper. Her frown was replaced by a wicked smirk as she finished her statement. They all knew there would be no shared meals from this group. Thanks, Lillian said stiffly, hardly slowing and heading to where she knew she'd find Rick. Turning left at the top of the stairs and 2 rooms down, she found him leaning against an old washing machine, smoking a cigarette. His pistol rested on the windowsill, and a rifle leaned against that same window. "What?" he asked in his typical bored southern drawl. Lillian sighed. You know what? You can't keep threatening and stealing your way to surviving this. Some of us are working toward a sustainable, supportive community. One that can outlast all this shit, make a difference. You're hindering the efforts of everyone involved. I ain't hungry though, am I? He choked out a hoarse laugh, streams of smoke oozing from his nostrils and around his incisors. In the torchlight, he looked like some kind of hound from hell, Lillian thought. Tell you what, Rick, if you can't play ball, you can forget about us helping you with any new outposts. His gaze flicked from hers for just a moment. Lillian grinned, knowing she'd found a chink in his armor. That's right. How long until you run out of fuel for that pickup truck of yours? How long until one of you is stuck, alone, at night? It'll be one hell of a walk back home when you key that handset and don't hear a whisper from us. Jack snarled silently, baring his teeth and staring at Lillian. She had enough, and wasn't particularly threatened by his sour looks or foul words. She placed a hand on her hip, arching an eyebrow. After a few moments, Rick's typical bored smile returned, though this time it was forced. Fuck it. What do I care? We don't want this shit anyway. Band-Aids and aspirin is the best you can do, Jack? You don't need my help dying none. You're doing just fine on your own. Rick tipped the ruck he'd taken from Jack over onto the floor. Neither Lillian nor Jack had noticed it before. Sighing, Lillian gave Rick one last dirty look and bent to help Jack retrieve the spilled belongings. You think you're gonna run this town, girlie? Rick asked condescendingly. If I have to, yeah, I will, Lillian answered, not looking up. Rick's boot connected with her ribs, sending her sprawling onto her back. She was facing the two men, grasping for her pistol before she even settled onto her backside. No! She shouted over Jack's confused, huh? Freeing her pistol and using the momentum to level it at Rick, the room erupted in gunfire. Rick's pistol flashed in Jack's face, sending an illuminated spray to cover the floor, medical supplies, and her. Jack's pistol fired into the floor, and Lillian's discharged into Rick. Her first round hit him in the chest, producing a loud thwack and a grunt from the man. Immediately she fired 2 more times, the second round missing, the third striking him in the cheek. She wanted to scream, wanted to vomit and cry. She needed to run. She knew what gunfire would bring. Rick! A shout from below. Rick, what did that bitch do? A quiet shuffling of feet and then mumbled panicky words from downstairs. Kate must be coordinating with the third of her group, a woman whose name she did not know. He drew on me! Don't make me, Lillian stammered, panicked and sick. Don't make me, please, she begged as their footsteps grew closer, louder. She stumbled out of the laundry room, across the hall to a darkened bedroom, and leaned out the door. Don't make me, she mumbled, shakily pointing her pistol at the top of the stairs. I just wanted to talk, she said, louder this time, with tears streaming down her cheeks, salty and metallic with blood as they found their way to the edges of her mouth. Staring at the stairs, she focused hard, causing her heart to throb in her head and her vision to shudder with each thundering pulsation. A foot, a leg, a hand on the edge of the wall. Don't make me. Please don't make me. Then, the barrel of a rifle. Drop it! Go away! Don't make me! She began to scream. Kate rounded the corner, quickly turning and firing 2 shots at the empty laundry room doorway. From across the hall, Lillian screamed, filling the stairway with her own volley of fire. Kate groaned and toppled onto her side. Over her ringing ears, Lillian could hear the third running down the stairs and out of the house. The fading footsteps were replaced with Kate's blood-curdling screams of agony as she fully realized the violent, irreversible damage inflicted to her inner complex workings. Hands holding her insides from spilling free, she frantically kicked herself away from Lillian, tumbling down the stairs in a heap. Lillian's chest hitched, a sob escaped her throat and nose, pushing snot and thick spit in front of it. I'm sorry, I didn't want to. She wheezed, another sob broke the surface, and like shattered floodgates she began to cry freely as she ran down the stairs and out the door, tripping on Kate's increasingly stagnant form at the base of the stairs. She reached her truck and retched onto the ground, alternately sobbing, vomiting, and resuming her fit of uncontrollable sobs. After purging all she had, she turned the key in the ignition and began her journey home, refusing as she departed to watch the flood of corpses in her rearview mirror, frantically shoving their way through the entrance to the now unoccupied 2-story house. Lillian arrived at home a short while later. Her friends' smiles of greetings were replaced with looks of concern and fear when they looked her over. The black Icarus blood of the infected was a common enough sight. The bright arterial spray speckled with the gray of brain matter and bone was not. She ignored them, going past them all into her private quarters. She mumbled through her tears as she looked upon the half-joking nameplate her friends had made for her and affixed to her door. Sheriff. I didn't want to.